Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 446, Reigning Over Contempt, Part 6. Take also the breastplate of righteousness. The podcast objectives are analyze the linear path you must take to reign over contempt, introduce the breastplate of righteousness, and reveal how we are able to stand in every spiritual battle. The law within our hearts. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to day 281 of our exposition of lawlessness. In the most recent podcast, we analyze the role of purification in heart regulation. In doing so, I have now shown you how the 3 degrees of virtue work to ensure your heart is always fixed to do the Father's will. Not only this, but I also showed you the crucial roles of obedience and faith in this procedure. To wit, I showed you why regulating your mind is so vital to regulating your heart. It is for the following reason, and if you haven't bookmarked it, I advise you to bookmark it now. A mind that has not been regulated will compromise the work of virtue in your heart. For the conscience being defiled will cause the mind to generate evil thoughts. And with a clear path into your heart, these evil thoughts would defile your heart at a faster rate than virtue could possibly keep your heart clean. Now, these things being what they are, it should be clear to see the linear model at work. To wit, every milestone you achieve in your quest is designed for you to succeed in taking the next step. My dear friends, we have seen the connections from the beginning of our lessons on faith. Let's review, shall we? In the beginning, you had problems with excess thoughts. And although you didn't realize it then, these thoughts were designed to cause you to doubt. And thus, you needed a way to filter them out. So, what did you do? You, my friend, focused on the solution and not the problem. And you gave yourself to walking by faith and not by sight. For this is right. And as you went, behold, a fence of faith, and your issues with doubt and excess thoughts went far away. Not only this, but Yahuwah gave you other gifts to ensure your victory over doubt was maintained. Enter a mind barrier, a mental bridge, and a rock, all of which provide you with a foundation for obtaining the mind of Yahushua Messiah. For look, listen, it has been written, let this mind be in you, which was also in Messiah Yahushua, who emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, and came to be in the likeness of men. And having been found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, death even of a stake. Now, for a minute, you were doing great until you began to have issues with thoughts that didn't appear to be problematic, and yet they somehow gave you problems. Your fence of faith was operating just fine, so you knew it wasn't the problem. And so, what did you do? Once again, you, my friend, focus on the solution and not the problem. And you emptied yourself as our loving master, and you became obedient unto death. That is the death of your will. And yet you survived and are living still. And as you walked in obedience, behold, an armed guard and watchman. By unlocking this hero, you gain the power to ascertain the spiritual quality of every thought in your mind. And when your watchman discovered thoughts that were plotting disobedience, he transformed himself into an armed guard. And seeing these thoughts were draped in doubt, he quickly moved to cast them out. Not only this, but Yahuwah gave you other gifts to ensure your victory over disobedience was maintained. Enter an elastic suit, a railing system, and a spiritual converter, the final pieces to your mental puzzle required to unlock the power of the mind of Yahushua Messiah. Congratulations. Well done. Now, you succeeded in fixing your mind, but your eyes were opened to some new problems, some real problems, and they had to deal with your heart. And though it was defiled from the start, it took some time for you to find your heart was worse off than your mind. So, what did you do? Once again, you, my friend, focus on the solution and not the problem. And you dedicated yourself to cleansing your heart from all defilement. And behold, a maid of honor, a leading heroine whose work is demanded. For lo, her task is to purify your heart by eliminating every trace of lawlessness. For this, my friend, we have been commanded. For look, listen, it has been written. The goal of the command is love from a pure heart, from a good conscience, and a sincere faith. Ergo, by purifying our hearts, we not only achieve the first note of transformation, but we also position ourselves to achieve the last, and that is the love of Elohim, having been made the law within our hearts, which are now pure, even as he is pure. Now, I said all of that to remind you how we got here, because it was no small feat. Quite the contrary, you, my friend, have taken out 12 of the deadliest degrees of lawlessness. And in case you forgot, allow me to remind you why this test is a major milestone within your quest. The majority of so-called believers never make it past obedience and faith, and another large population never make it past virtue. Alas, the stage was set, the way was made, and yet they failed to pass spiritual second grade. The breastplate of righteousness. Now, the primary reason why so many will never make it past spiritual grade 2 is because they don't succeed in spiritual warfare, because they are not consistently passing their tests and trials. This brings us to our next inflection point. Consider this, my friends, and be advised. The tests and trials you experience in your quest are designed to prepare you for the next spiritual battle. Now, here again, this is why the outcome of every battle is determined prior to the battle. To wit, if you are failing your tests and trials, you will most certainly lose the ensuing battle. For, as you very well know by now, the only way you can succeed in spiritual warfare is by being prepared for the onslaught of the enemy. Now, along these lines, all the tests and trials of faith were designed to unlock a key feature of the whole armor of Elohim, but not just any feature. To wit, this feature had to be specifically designed to defeat the spirit of doubt. Enter the shield of faith, the leading piece in your armor, and the only weapon within your spiritual arsenal that has the power to quench the fiery darts of the wicked one. Likewise, all the tests and trials of obedience were designed to unlock another key feature of the whole armor of Elohim, but not just any feature. To wit, this feature had to be specifically designed to defeat the spirit of disobedience. Enter the helmet of salvation, a defense system that extends far beyond guarding your mind in spiritual warfare. To wit, your helmet of salvation communicates the battle strategy and it reveals the way of escape. That is the only path to victory. Ergo, as long as you are wearing your helmet, you will always have a clear path to victory. All you have to do is follow it, which is why succeeding this quest is singly evaluated by your ability and willingness to walk in obedient faith to the Father's will. Now, if you think those are the only two pieces in your spiritual arsenal, I have good news for you. That's not all. There is more. My dear friend, Yahuwah is not done blessing you. He is not done dressing you for success in spiritual war. Quite the contrary, there are more weapons in your arsenal. And the next piece you unlock is designed to protect your heart. Enter the breastplate of righteousness. Ephesians 6:10-18 is revealing. Because of this, take up the whole armor of Elohim, so you have power to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand then, having put on the breastplate of righteousness. Now, it goes without saying that a breastplate is a key facet of your armor because it protects your heart. And apart from your head, your heart is the most important part of your body you must protect in any battle. Here is why. The heart is the primary life source of the body because it is at the center of your circulatory system and it moves blood throughout the body. This is critical because it allows other organs and systems within your body to function, wherein you have life. This is why armies go into battle with some form of armor that protects their hearts. It is also why a breastplate is the third piece of our armor we add to our spiritual arsenal. To wit, once we have succeeded in protecting our minds, we must now take the next step and guard our hearts. Now, your breastplate of righteousness has multiple functions in spiritual warfare. And yet, for the sake of time, I'll only address one in this podcast. That is the function of guarding your heart in the spiritual battle. Let's talk about it, shall we? The power to resist every assault. Proverb 4:23 is revealing. Watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Now, at first glance, it may appear that this verse suggests that all of life's issues reflect what is in our hearts. Although this is true, there is a deeper meaning behind the phrase issues of life, which I would have you consider with the following inflection point. The issues of life are those spiritual matters that have the potential to destroy you. Vis-a-vis, they possess the power to end your spiritual career and your physical life. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, the issues of life are some of the most critical facets of your entire being, and they are definitely the most critical facets of your heart. We know this because the issues of life are designed to influence your decision-making process. Here lies the inflection. To wit, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your choices, and the issues of life are designed to cause you to make bad choices. Here is why. The issues of life are derivatives of the cares of this life, to wit, the troubles of this world. Now, that was the inflection. Here is the problem. Vis-a-vis, when you focus on the issues of life, you are not focusing on the solution. Quite the contrary. You, my friend, are focusing on the problem, for the issues are the problem. And when you focus on the problem, you are giving your power to the problem. Alas, you are allocating precious time and energy to the problem. And this makes the problem even bigger than what it actually is. My dear friends, we have already discussed the danger of this scenario. Remember, we are at all times increasing towards the object of our focus. Ergo, if you are focused on the issues of life, and if you allow these issues to dictate your decision-making process, you will migrate onto a path that magnifies the power of the problem. This matter lends itself to the phenomenon of the self-fulfilling prophecy, which we analyze in End Times 365, How Disobedience Plagues the Mind, Part 2, which was posted on November 1st, 2024. In that podcast, you learned that if you focus on the issues of this life, you will reap the full effect of those issues. It's just a matter of time. Why? It's because you are being victimized by despair, which is causing you to fear. And trust me, if you continue in fear, the thing you fear will become your reality. Again, it's just a matter of time. Now, these things being what they surely are, the question of the hour is simply this: how do you guard yourself from the issues of life? The answer is sure: by taking the breastplate of righteousness. We know this because the breastplate is designed to guard our hearts in spiritual warfare. Now, let me tell you something. You must remember what I told you about your armor, a word of power Yahuwah gave me years ago. Vis-a-vis, you never take your armor off. Why? It's because we are all career soldiers in Yahuwah's army. It is our primary spiritual profession. Trust me, we will spend more time in spiritual warfare than any other spiritual activity. My dear friends, it is upon us all. This is why Yahuwah told me to sleep with my armor on and with the sword of the Spirit by my side. It's because you never know when the next battle is coming. And yet, we do know that the only way we will get the victory is if we are prepared for it. And we will only be prepared for it if we put on the whole armor of Elohim and we never take it off. Now, as it pertains to your breastplate of righteousness, the reason why you must never take it off is sure, and I will offer it as our next inflection point. Consider this, my friends, and be advised. By putting on your breastplate of righteousness and keeping it on, you are protecting the regulated environment within your heart. And remember, this is the only environment in which your maid of honor can do the work of purifying your heart and keeping it consistently clean. And this, my friends, is the only way we can prevent the issues of life from contaminating our hearts. This is the only path we can follow where the troubles of this world have no power to manipulate our decision-making process. Now, brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, this is the path of righteousness. And the only way you can travel this path is if you take also the breastplate of righteousness. If you do, you will be able to withstand everything the enemy throws at you, including his kitchen sink strategy. Why? It's because your breastplate of righteousness cannot be penetrated. And if you're wondering why, I'll tell you in the form of a revelation. Consider this, my friends, and be amazed. The breastplate of righteousness is made up of the same spiritual material as the rock of reliance and the railway of conformance. Ergo, the same way we can stand on the rock of reliance, in the same way we can stand in the railway of conformance. Brothers and sisters, we can stand if we take also the breastplate of righteousness. Hallelujah. Now, if you're not convinced, I ask you to reconsider Shaul's address to the Ephesians. For look, listen, it has been written, stand then, having put on the breastplate of righteousness. Open your eyes, brothers and sisters. Pay attention. The command to stand is an implication that we have put on the breastplate of righteousness. And there is nowhere in Scripture where we are ever, and I repeat, ever commanded to take it off. For if we take it off, how then shall we stand? Now look, listen, I told you before, the devil walks about seeking someone to devour. To wit, he is looking for someone who is not wearing the breastplate of righteousness. We know this because the heart is the danger zone of your soul. Trust me, Satan can do more damage from your heart than any other facet of your being. And this we know. Satan is not some penny ante operator. Quite the contrary. He is in the business of destroying souls. And if you would receive it, he has the biggest operation in the history of our world. And he has been running it longer than any of us have been alive. Now, despite this fact, allow me to be very clear. Even though Satan is a great destroyer of men, you have nothing to fear. Why? It's because you, my friend, have unlocked the breastplate of righteousness. This speaks to the second half of the story I didn't share with you about Satan, the cowardly lion who is only looking for a fight he knows he can win. Get this, my friends. 1 Peter 5, 9 through 10 is revealing. Resist the devil, firm in the faith, knowing that the same hardships are experienced by your brothers in the world. And the Elohim of all favor, who called you to his everlasting esteem by Messiah Yahushua, after you have suffered a while, himself will perfect you, establish you, strengthen you, and settle you. Now, if you allow me to paraphrase, Peter is saying, if you resist the devil, firm in faith and virtue. Elohim will perfect you. He will establish you. He will strengthen you, and he will settle you. Or as Shaul puts it, he will empower you to stand. All you need is the breastplate of righteousness. For as I said before, it cannot be penetrated. It cannot be broken. This is why Yahuwah has given us this gift to guard our hearts. It's because the breastplate of righteousness has the power to resist every assault of the enemy. And the majority of these are being aimed at your heart. So take my advice and don't be deceived into going into any battle with only a helmet and a shield. On the rather, brothers, take also the breastplate of righteousness. And when the hearts of men are failing them for fear, you will not unravel and you will never yield. Now, here is the final word. The enemy will always persist, and thus you need the power to always resist. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, if you fail to protect your heart in spiritual warfare, trust me, your career as a spiritual soldier will be short lived. Now, let me tell you something. It is true that I have said in times past that the mind is the primary battlefield for all spiritual warfare. But what I didn't tell you then is the reason why the mind is subjected to constant spiritual aggression. And yet, if you are being led by the Ruach, you should know why. It's because the mind is the gateway into the heart. And the enemy, more than anything, wants to set up his death operations within your heart. Why? It's because your heart, in its default composition, is much more conducive for maintaining spiritual strongholds. My dear friends, your heart, by default, possesses a zone of lawlessness, to wit, the perfect place for the enemy to reign over you, making you a servant to his will. This is why Yahushua Messiah reveals that everything that defiles a man comes from the heart. It's because every degree of lawlessness will eventually make its way into your heart, which is why I have constantly labeled your heart as a danger zone from the very beginning of this podcast ministry and even before then. Heretofore, I recommend take also the breastplate of righteousness, for we are pilgrims in a sinful land, and guard your heart with all resistance, for by resistance we gain the victory and we are able to stand. Praise Yah. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on the word you have heard today. And as always, ask the Father to reveal the truth to you. For the children of Elohim live by conviction. And if he has not convicted you, or if you had not heard him concerning these matters, you should pray until you do. Today, I want you to meditate on the word I have shared. We covered a lot of material, and so that is the only assignment for today. Consider these matters, my friend, and be watchful as you pray. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 446, Reigning Over Contempt, Part 6. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 447, Reigning Over Contempt, Part 7. I will post this podcast on Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim, continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.